Hi and welcome to Wolfie Recaps once again. Today, I will show you the 2011 biography, comedy, and drama film The Intouchable. There are spoilers ahead. Watch out and be cautious. Driss is chauffeuring his employer Philippe across Paris late one evening. When traffic becomes too monotonous, Driss exceeds the speed limit and begins driving extremely fast, evading other vehicles and ignoring traffic signs. This spurs the police to pursue him, and Driss wagers €100 that he can outrun them. However, after driving beneath a bridge, the police ambush them from both sides and capture him. Driss appears unconcerned, and this time he wagers €200 that he can secure an escort for them. The police force him to exit the vehicle, at which point he becomes belligerent, claiming Philippe cannot move and he was driving him to the hospital. The wheelchair in the truck and Philippe's convulsions, which are also an act, provide evidence of this to the officers. As it is an emergency, the police forgive Driss for exceeding the speed limit and offer to accompany him to the hospital. Driss plays September by Earth, Wind and Fire to celebrate winning the wager, and when they arrive at their location and the police have left, he shares a cigarette with Philippe. Driss assures them that he will manage the situation and drives them away just before hospital staff might locate them. This friendship began some months in the past. Philippe and his helper Magali are conducting interviews to locate a new caregiver for him, but the process isn't going so well because all of the applicants had conventional or odd responses to the interview questions. However, they are taken aback when Driss bursts in, oblivious to the fact that it is not yet his turn, demanding that they sign a document stating they would not hire him so he can collect unemployment benefits. He is frank and rather impolite, even flirting with Magali, but Philippe finds him amusing and asks him to return the following day with his signed documents. Driss returns to his modest neighborhood home and attempts to take a bath as his younger siblings annoy him. Only his older and more responsible sister Mina is able to help him complete the task on time. While waiting for his mother to come, he observes his brother Adama exiting a suspicious vehicle via the window. When the child enters the flat, he just states that he was at school and exits after taking his bag, increasing Driss's suspicion that he is up to no good. In the evening, when his mother comes, he gives her a Fabergé egg he stole and tells her he has been on vacation. She is not pleased to see him because he left for 6 months and never phoned, and now he has suddenly materialized at her house as if it were a hotel. As she has other children to care for and is so fed up with his lies, she pushes him out and instructs him not to return. Driss spends the evening smoking cigarettes and eating food with his neighbors. The following day, Driss returns to Philippe's home to get his paperwork. He is greeted by the housekeeper, Yvonne, who gives him a tour of the home and describes Philippe's daily routine. She also shows him the room he would have with his own bathroom. Driss is unable to stop staring at the bathtub before he is pulled to see Philippe, who provides both the signed document and a job opportunity. Driss accepts the 1-month trial, and Philippe wagers that he won't last more than 2 weeks. After placing his belongings in his room, Driss is instructed on how to care for Philippe. He must learn how to keep his legs active, how to place him in a wheelchair, and how to assist him with bathing and dressing. The situation becomes difficult when Driss realizes he must put on Philippe's stockings and clean his butt after he uses the restroom, but despite his protests, he eventually accepts these responsibilities as part of his work. Later in the evening, while enjoying a snack on the roof, he is disturbed by Philippe's daughter Elisa and her boyfriend Bastien, who are looking for a private place to make out. After refusing to share his drink with them, he kicks them both out. Driss rapidly adjusts to his daily schedule with Philippe, despite his initial blunders, such as handing the phone to Philippe instead of placing it to his ear or forgetting the baby monitor while taking a bath. He also learns to organize his mail in distinct folders. Most of the letters he opens for Philippe, but there are a few that he is not permitted to read. When he discovers a flyer advertising female escorts, he decides to create a separate file for them instead of discarding them as Philippe suggests. Driss nonetheless makes sure to have fun in his new life. He continues to pursue Magali despite her rejection, and occasionally calls escorts to join him in bed. After Yvonne comes to his room to reprimand him for being tardy one morning, she discovers hazardous weapons in his backpack, but she does not comment on them just yet. Today, Driss's assignment is to drive Philippe around, but he refuses to put him in the back of a van like he's cargo. Instead, he employs one of the rarely used luxury vehicles. Despite Yvonne's continued disapproval, Philippe quickly warms up to the concept of a speedier, less monotonous journey, despite his initial disapproval and insistence that they should be pragmatic. When they attempt to exit the building, a neighbor has parked in front of their door, despite the sign prohibiting it. Driss immediately pursues the man, seizing him by the front of his shirt and threatening him until he moves the vehicle. Philippe is impressed by his activities, but Yvonne disapproves once again. The pair visits a museum, where Philippe intends to purchase a work of art that Driss believes is not worth the money because it is merely a red splotch on a canvas. Philippe then meets with a relative, who informs him that everyone is concerned about Driss since he can be violent. Philippe appreciates Driss since he doesn't pity him and enjoys playing about with him. Driss eats dinner with Yvonne in the kitchen as he listens to Philippe dictate a letter to Magali, following yet another failed attempt to seduce Magali. Yvonne claims it's a private chat and switches off the baby monitor before explaining what's happening. Philippe corresponds with a woman named Eleanor. These are the letters he forbade Driss from reading. However, he has never met Eleanor, their relationship is strictly epistolary. Speaking about love, Driss teases Yvonne about the constant stares the gardener gives her before night. He is attempting to fall asleep when he hears strange sounds emanating from the baby monitor. Philippe is having difficulty breathing. Driss, unable to ignore him no matter how hard he tries, goes to his room and uses soothing words and a damp towel to lead him through the attack. Philippe eventually falls asleep, only to awaken moments later and declare that he needs oxygen. This time, Driss does not hesitate. He places Philippe in a wheelchair, covers him with blankets, and takes him for a stroll down the river. This is the first time in a very long time that Philippe has seen Paris at night, and now that he is more at ease, he reveals to Driss that the medication can only do so much and that he occasionally gets phantom agony. Philippe admits that, due to his circumstances, he is incapable of gratifying a lady, but he can still derive pleasure from having his ears massaged, as they are sensitive areas. When the phantom agony threatens to return, Driss shares one of his joints with Philippe, who is initially hesitant but comes to like it. After that, they go to a restaurant where they eat a meal and joke around as Philippe continues his narrative. She experienced 5 miscarriages and was diagnosed with an incurable, deadly illness shortly after their marriage. They had met as students. In that year, they adopted Elisa. Philippe has always enjoyed competitions, extreme sports, and speed, and a paraglider provided him with these opportunities. During a paragliding session, terrible weather caused him to crash and break his vertebrae, but he still believes that his true handicap is not his wheelchair, but his inability to live with his wife. Philippe recalls the date and understands that Driss has successfully completed his 1-month trial, thus he is now officially employed. But he must begin by returning the Fabergé egg he took, as it was a gift from his wife. She gave him one every year, and he now has exactly 25, corresponding to their length of marriage. The following day, Driss goes to speak with Mina as she is leaving school. She is rather angry that he hasn't been responding to her messages save to beg her to seek for the egg. She also informs him that the police have been phoning their home. After that, he visits Adama, who admits to having 30 grams of marijuana on him. Adama declines Driss's offer to take him to lunch and instead re-enters the same strange vehicle. Later, Driss is permitted to be present while Philippe dictates his letter to Magali on behalf of Eleanor. He finds Philippe's purple prose tedious and believes he should be more forthright. He is also perplexed by the fact that they have not shared photographs in the past 6 months. When he discovers her phone number on one of the letters, he interprets it as a sign and phones her, compelling Philippe to pick up the phone and finally speak to her in person. Their chat goes so well that Philippe is now constantly on the phone with her, even before he and Driss attend an opera where Driss makes fun of the costumes. The following day, Driss persuades Philippe to accept an exchange of photographs with Eleanor and selects a photograph of him in a wheelchair. Elisa then enters his room while he is painting to ask for cigarettes and makes light of his attempt to be artistic. Infuriated, he pushes her out before heading to meet Philippe, who is requesting that Yvonne replace the chosen photo with one of him before he became quadriplegic. She conceals the photograph within the escort file just before Driss bursts in, moaning about Elisa and urging Philippe to reprimand her, a sentiment shared by Yvonne. Philippe agrees to speak with her, but is shocked when Driss reveals that he has been painting. The days continue to pass, and Philippe and Driss' friendship continues to blossom. Philippe buys him his first suit and scolds his daughter while Driss listens to him on the baby monitor. Driss demonstrates his first painting to Magali, who slaps him when he attempts to kiss her. However, Philippe enjoys the picture and promises to attempt to sell it. They have a terrific time together, engaging in activities such as purchasing a faster car, exchanging drugs, and hiring escorts. When Philippe's birthday arrives, he is not really excited. Every year, he pretends to be startled that they're hosting a celebration, and he has to meet with all these relatives who only visit him on that day to ensure he's still alive. According to Philippe, everything will be quite dull. While he and the other guests enjoy live classical music, Driss hunts for Elisa, who is crying in her room after taking some of Yvonne's pills and discovering that they will not kill her. Bastien broke up with her and called her a tart, so she asks Driss to contact Bastien for a fee. Driss agrees. Philippe shows his relative the painting by Driss and convinces him to purchase it for 11,000 euros. Driss returns to the dining room and converses with Yvonne, who informs him that Magali is in a relationship with a man named Fred, but that things are now somewhat difficult. This gives Driss optimism. Philippe forces Driss to listen to some of the most significant pieces of classical music history as the party winds down, but he can only respond with humor. After the band has finished playing, he comes his iPod and plays Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind, and Fire before beginning to dance in the center of the dance floor. He is such a great dancer that he convinces the rest of the party to dance with him, which Philippe adores seeing. Later, when putting Philippe to bed, Driss reads the newest letter from Eleanor to him. She has sent him a photo of herself, revealing that she is quite attractive, and has suggested that they meet when she visits Paris next week. On the day of the date, Yvonne and Driss put Philippe through hundreds of costumes before settling on the ideal one. Driss takes his day off to visit Bastien, threatening him until he agrees to apologize to Eliza and bring her croissants every day. He also requests that Bastien repair his hair. He then visits his mother at work, but merely to observe her from a distance. Yvonne and Philippe are waiting for the very late Eleanor at the restaurant. Philippe gives up after an hour of waiting, contacts Driss to ask him to take him away, and then exits the restaurant without noticing Eleanor's arrival. On the same evening, Philippe takes Driss on his private plane and gives him the money he earned from selling the painting, making him ecstatic. The following morning, they arrive in the countryside, and Philippe decides to go paragliding, pulling Driss along with him. After initially panicking out, Driss ends up liking the event despite his initial aversion to it. When they arrive home, Adama is waiting for Driss and reprimands him for having facial scars. Adama still refuses to tell Driss what is going on in his life, so Driss forces him to wait in his room while he phones Mina to reassure her and puts Philippe to bed. Philippe, though, is not yet exhausted. After forcing Driss to view a painting with him, he asks him about his family. Driss initially refuses to discuss his family, but finally gives in. Adama is not officially his brother, and neither are his parents, rather, they are his aunt and uncle. Because they were unable to have children, they brought him from Senegal when he was 8 years old. His original name is Bakari Bassari, but his parents called him Idris, which evolved into Driss. One day, his aunt suddenly conceived, and after his uncle died, there were additional men and children. Philippe points out that Adama needs discipline, just as Driss had done with Elisa, so he fires Driss so he can be with his family. He cannot spend his entire life caring for an elderly guy. The next morning, after Bastien has brought his daily croissant while sporting better hair, Driss prepares to go. Magali comes to say farewell, and when Driss tries to hit on her one final time, Magali introduces him to Fred, short for Frédéric. It turns out that Magali isn't interested in males, and Driss quits up on the spot. On his way out of the house, he returns the baby monitor to Yvonne and teases her for intentionally misleading him about Magali. In exchange, she sends him the escort file he had begun, and he is dismayed to see the image he had chosen is buried within. Driss discards the file, but keeps the photograph for himself. Once leaving, he discovers a car blocking the entrance again, so he begs the driver to move despite though he no longer works there. Driss argues it's a matter of principle when Adama calls him out for it. A few hours later, the two boys travel to the train station to pick up their mother, while Philippe is having his first supper with his new babysitter, who is stuffy and uninteresting, and he decides to leave without eating. As Yvonne is off on a date with the gardener, no one is around to reprimand him. As time passes, Driss returns to his previous lifestyle. He reconnects with his old buddies and instructs the men in the suspicious automobile to stop bothering Adama. When he has insufficient experience for an interview, he manages to win over the company by calling himself pragmatic and using the art expertise he gained while working for Philippe. This secures him a position as a driver. Philippe continues to despise his new babysitter and is perpetually irritable. One evening, he rejects assistance from anyone in the home, so Yvonne contacts Driss and asks him to come over. This is how the event unfolds from the start, with the police initially pursuing them and later taking them to the hospital. After this mini-adventure, Driss drives Philippe to the coast, where the sight of the water helps Philippe relax. Later on, Driss trims Philippe's excessive beard before escorting him to a restaurant for lunch, but he does not stay, as Philippe will be accompanied by someone else today. Driss bids him good luck and eventually returns his egg before departing. Philippe begins to worry about being alone until he realizes who his date is, Eleanor, who is happy to see him and does not mind the chair. The actual Count Philippe Pozzo di Borgo now resides in Morocco with his second wife and 2 daughters. The genuine Driss, whose true name is Abul Yasmin Selou, is married with 3 children and has his own business. The friendship between the 2 guys continues to this day. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.